Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am Legion for Dying Light 2 Creation. I am Jason, the creator of that mod, and I will be working a little bit more today on trying to move us towards 1.0. So, one of the things I was trying to get set up before releasing 1.0 was trying to refine some of the UI. Or not the UI, sorry, the AI for the infected. So I worked overtime trying to get the human AI to be more reactive, to respond to the environment. They're still not quite there, but I'm actually pretty content with the difference between the original version and where they're at now. So it's one of those deals where, yes, ideally we'll continue to get better, but can't kill ourselves trying to make all those code changes just yet. What I'm going to try to do here is continue to work towards releasing that 1.0 official, and then as we're continuing to get feedback, as we're continuing to see improvements in the game, then I'll continue to try to dial in that AI and make those improvements. But if they come out and do something radical like what they did with the Pursuit, then it becomes this question of like, you know, maybe they'll restructure their entire AI code. Maybe this all goes away. I don't know yet. So because of that, trying to make sure I don't put in too many hours on a system that possibly could disappear. But for now, it's working well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share out this link so the people on the Discord can jump on as well. If you're not part of the Discord community, please jump on. We have a great group of people on there that are constantly working on the game with different mods that they're working on or asking questions or also looking to join co-op. So if you're still playing Dying Light 2, I know that it's received a lot of weird press at this point. If you're still enjoying the mod, if you're still enjoying the game, please join us on the Discord, and I'd love to talk to you guys on there. Let me go ahead and get this set up. So what I'm going to be working on right now is basically, let's get this ongoing development link shared so that people can jump on if they want. It's been a little while since I have had time to do this, so hopefully this will allow people to jump on if they'd like. Let's go ahead and get this projection set up. Create output. And let's go ahead and share that out to our friends on the Discord. Okay, perfect. And I'll just try to keep an eye on the YouTube stream as well as the Discord. If you guys have any questions, if you just want to come hang out, feel free. I love hearing from you guys while I'm working on this stuff. It is kind of boring while crawling through the code if I can't hear from you guys and get your feedback actively on some of these things. So excited to hear more. So shout out to Amplitude. Thanks for joining and jumping on the YouTube here. So, kind of the summary here, Amplitude. So, Amplitude was actually asking earlier, what I was working on as far as the volatiles. So, I want to kind of give a quick summary of the volatiles. And one of the things that's so interesting about their logic in the game is that for one of their most iconic characters, they have very little code for the volatiles. And I think that's because they were not really meant to be implemented yet. So I think that they were going to put out an update at some point to bring the volatiles into the game. Where they advertised that they were doing that with this latest update, no, they just turned on the event. So there was an event that was created that is the red flare event where you see the volatile crawling around on the rooftops. Yeah, that's what I turned on like months ago. So they've now got that turned on in the base game. Good for them. But the volatiles are still not really meant to be in the game, and their code is so simple. I mean, biter code is like they have like 2 times the amount of biter code and banshee code than they do volatiles, which is just a shame. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up this script if you guys can see this on the screen. Kind of the example here is that you have this first file here, which is their behavior tree file. And if you see here, they've got listed all of their behaviors for the volatile. And if you look at this list, we got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that doesn't count. That's mine. 11. So there was an additional one there. So out of the 11 behavior trees for the volatiles, only 5 of them are volatile code. The rest of it's viral code or generic AI code. And so these guys are just not meant to be in the game yet. Which is really bizarre. You have things like spitters and screamers that they have more code than the volatiles. So one of the things I was trying to go through here and create is this idea of them patrolling, getting them out in the environment, actually making them sense characters that are on the map, possibly some different ways that they could behave in co-op. I mean, there's just so much that could be written for these guys. It's just also I'm kind of hesitant because clearly I hope, fingers crossed, they're actually going to put these guys in the game. If they do that, then I'm guessing most of this will get washed out. But like everything from basically their retreat to how they respond to how they're investigating, every part of this is just viral code. So everything that the virals are doing, the reason that you see the similarities between the two is that they're only meant to chase. So when a chase starts, they're being forced to go into a chase, and that's pretty much it. So what I'm doing is I'm going line by line and at least trying to split the two out so that you at least get unique viral behavior and volatile behavior, because the whole they run off into the distance until they fall off a building and die, that just irks the hell out of me. There's such an interesting AI that is not being used. So trying to improve those. Shout out to Muhammad. Thanks for jumping on the channel as well. It's good to hear from you again. And so I'm going to be crawling through here now, and we will see what all we can get done. So I've had a couple of changes since the last time you guys were on here. So I think it's been like at least a week since I've been able to stream out. Sorry for my absence. I have been working on it. I've just been it's down to little 30-minute snippets here and there. I got a lot of crazy plans coming up in my personal life, and so because of that, I've been very busy. So I'm going to go ahead and start crawling back through here. But if you guys have any questions, make sure to shout out. Hit me up. Let me know how you feel about it. But I'm also going to be trying to stream the game so that you guys can kind of see what's going on, see the progress. But one of the other things is back. So I rewrote back in the screamers. They're now patrolling the map. They're doing so in a little bit more intelligent way. Previously, they were kind of moving forced in a direction. They would have this issue where they go towards the edge. So basically they have this LOD system in the game where once they reach the edge of your view distance, they basically get reset to the original point if you're not moving with if your camera is not updating and moving around the map. So it ends up being this really weird thing where they'll go off in a direction, they'll walk away, you'll see them walk away, and then all of a sudden they get reset to the original point, and then they begin it again. I'm trying to refine some of this code so that they'll actually go in different directions or do something different, or potentially also turn off this LOD thing so that they actually, I've turned off their code so where they die. That was the original solution, is that they basically just deleted that AI when it hit the wall. Further out, I've turned off that code so they're not dying anymore. So they are resetting. I'm not sure which is the worst evil here. So, yeah. So let me go ahead and start crawling through here. Thanks, Lucky, for joining the stream again. Good to hear from you as well. And let's see what we can get done. So first, what I've been trying to do is go through here and get the search engine set back up for the virals, or not the virals, but the volatiles. Basically, they're using this search code for the virals, and they have this specialized volatile that they're spawning onto the rooftops with a red flare that starts searching the city. But I've been watching that guy, and he's not very intelligent. He is crawling, but he's not very interesting. He doesn't respond to the humans out in the environment and stuff like that. So there is still these glitches in there, and I'm still trying to figure out what is the lesser evil here. Amplitude says he's got a question for the infected. Go ahead and shoot. I'll be keeping an eye out on the side screen here. So let's go ahead and pull up our volatiles here, and basically I have not written a ton of the code yet. I was trying to make them more intelligent with like prolonged UV behavior and several other systems. But I think there's also this problem of the underlying systems for the game have not been fully flushed out yet. And so even this concept of like daylight is just not really established in the game, to where they're basically forcing them to be very generic, very simple. And so those systems could be improved with time, but it always comes down to like, do we have access to the code that is programmed in for like calling the event of like sunlight affecting these guys and that kind of thing. So let's switch back over here. I'll stop running my mouth and start looking at the code again. So we are continuing. So we did have the update for the latest version, and so I'm continuing to try to get these improvements up. As you can see, for 1.0, we have quite the long list of features along with some optionals, and so all of that is continuing along. So basically, with the code right now, so Amplitude asked, between the vanilla and I Am Legion Reborn, have I changed the spitters in the mod to not react to UV light? Basically, what I've tried to change is that UV light is determined by sunlight and the UV lights on the walls. There is a glitch in there where occasionally you get characters not responding, and I'm currently trying to understand. You have things like spitters and special infected indoors on the interiors now, but when they step outside, they basically get disabled in their ability to fight and that kind of thing. And so potentially some of the code with the prolonged UV behavior is their knowledge tree. I've been trying to increase that or make that better so that they'll flee but only go a little ways away and then kind of stay in that area, not just go kill themselves, which is what they're programmed to do right now, is basically run back, leap back, and either die in the light or go run off into the distance and die somewhere else. And so I've been trying to reprogram how that works, and I think with that there have been some issues with glitches popping up where these guys are reacting different, and hopefully I can get enough feedback to where we can keep dialing that in. But I'm not going to sit here and say that there haven't been complications, and there definitely haven't been glitches that have come up from that. So I'm still continuing to try to refine some of that, and we'll see how that goes. But the difference between the vanilla and this mod is that spitters were not also supposed to be on the interiors during the day. So you get all sorts of different reactions because now spitters are actually inside the interiors, and so because of that, you start to see things that you normally wouldn't have seen before. Okay, so it sounds like they're also, so actually let me go ahead and, while I got you here on the line, let me go ahead and pull that up. So I actually added logic to them where they're supposed to be. So they're using the infected, so they're not actually using their own code. And then here's their prolonged UV behavior. And basically, right here, spotlight, turn on light source. Let me go ahead and pull up the original and see what I've changed here. That one a little bit ago. So they don't have it. So they don't actually have. So again, they're not supposed to be spawned, and then they're not supposed to follow player to the point where they would actually be near UV light. In most cases, so they don't actually have the concept of reacting to UV light in their generic code. All they have is escape from sunlight. So in the original one, if it's daylight, then they run away, and that's pretty much it. With this new one, I've added this condition that if it's night, then they can react to UV behavior. Basically, I'm turning that off during the day. And so what I could do is potentially try to change where the sequence falls. So let's see. Currently, we have escape. So actually, I'm going to try to do this after the condition of idle walk and also prolonged UV behavior. I'll give that a couple of tests and see if that gets any better, and we'll see if we can get these guys dialed in a little bit better. But yes, that's what I'm trying to work on right now, is trying to improve some of these glitches that we're seeing to see if we can get some of those things better refined before the official release. So we'll see if that is possible. So turning back over to the volatiles, let me make sure I'm keeping an eye on volatile changes. So currently they should be moving through the environment. I'm going to actually pull up the game really quickly to just review the game, make sure I left this off yesterday. Let me review where we got to and start going from there. Okay, and for those that are joining or watching the recording, so basically the layout here, I know this looks a little busy, is basically I always on the top, I have the actual core code that is not modified, and then on the bottom left, I have the modified code. And then lately, I've been keeping this middle one, which is basically just a blank version, or it's the base version of the mod, so that I can quickly drag and drop into the source files. To the right here, I have the actual source files and the data packs, and I'm constantly just dumping those in and hitting launch to continue to try to test. Also, one of the things that I've been trying to look at is there is the concept of trying to there is also the concept of the AI trying to group together and patrol together. I've been playing around with this a bit more with the biters, and so the biters actually have a pretty good group together, move in the same path system right now. So they will occasionally just start moving throughout the city, clustering together, and so you can. The other day, I got a decent sized horde of zombies moving together throughout the city, and it basically. In order to get that, I had to first get them moving. So, one of the things that I've been testing with is adding humans throughout the city, even at night. So, at night, they have something out in the city more interesting than just you. It is a city, so you would think that somebody would be out there. One of the challenges is trying to get the humans to where they're actually living in this environment in a way that is actually realistic. And so that has become a challenge. So we have a volatile right here. Basically, you have two types of movement. The map is doing a really good job now of just moving down towards the noise and towards the interesting areas of the map. I mean, like you have at least 30 zombies, I think, heading towards these sounds, which is really fun, I think, especially if you're trying to do a mission or something like that, and all of a sudden you create noise. Now you have to contend with the fact that half the map is slowly starting to move down towards you. And looked like the volatile that we were looking at there was moving because of sound. And then here's an example of one that's inside the environment that is not using my code to move. And I think the problem is, and what I was running into earlier, is that they have this switch on here where they're setting the volatiles to where they are always UV immune for whatever reason, and then they're basically turning that off. So at some point, I think they have a storyline that is basically allowing them to not be affected by UV. And so their answer to that was, we will make them always immune to UV and then turn it back off. And so the challenge with that is now we have these guys out on the map, and they sometimes have this glitch where they aren't actually affected by light, and that's frustrating. So I think what's happening here is that I've been trying to improve their ability to detect the UV light, and it looks like they're just essentially hanging out. So I'm going to have to probably dial that code back and try to continue to do these two different separate systems, which one system is moving randomly and the other system is responding to light accordingly. You can also see that we do have biters moving throughout the city now. Normally they just play their little idle animation and then run in circles. We do have some that are moving. The challenge here is that if I'm just hanging out, this guy will eventually hit the distance, maximum distance, view distance, and he'll just reset back there to the center. Sometimes you can reset them by looking away and just looking back. So you can see there that I believe that one I was following there, he just kind of disappeared. So it's always fun. It's always better to not pay attention to too many details here if you're just trying to have an immersive playthrough, because you can find the glitches in this game pretty quick. So you can see here we have our spitters, or they're not spitters, but screamers. They're doing a great job patrolling, so they're moving throughout the map pretty easily. It really has started to highlight the amount of areas that these guys aren't supposed to be moving. So here we have a volatile that is running through the city. So he would be considered a patroller. What I'm trying to update is trying to keep him from running like that, but rather crawl through the city. If we follow him, he'll stay alive and continue to alter his path and continue to move around. If we don't follow him, then if in like 15 minutes, he'll probably come running, not 15 minutes, but 15 seconds, he'll probably come running back by again where he reset and is starting to move again. So again, better not to pay attention, but they will crawl across the building tops and stuff like that. But I have noticed that a large number of these guys aren't moving inside the environment, and so because they're not moving, I'm trying to take a look at how I can get them moving around the map. The same is true of the biters. I want them to continue to do kind of their little idle effects, but I also want them shifting around and changing their positions. So there's actually a volatile. Hang on one second. Let me see. I don't have my Discord up. Let me see who we got on the line. Oh, hey, Amplitude. Thanks for joining on the voice chat there. What were you asking?
My stream was not behaving, so I've come here instead.
That works.
I was saying you want them to sort of like switch between standing around and then they suddenly will just start shifting elsewhere.
Yeah, they basically need to have kind of, let me see if I have like a coin or something I can throw it down here. Basically, right now it's kind of working out to where if there's something that causes them to be motivated to start moving around, then we'll actually start to get them shifting in the environment. But there's also this idle system that they have in there that basically these guys are designed not to move. So it's like fighting a system where they're designed not to be moving around and trying to actually get them moving. So if we hit that, we can see that the whole map is interested. Everybody's moving towards this objective. Now we have zombies blowing up and loud noises. I gotta turn down the physics bug there.
Always like to do a very dramatic move when you kick a viral off the building.
Yeah. So we have like even a bolter coming to investigate, which is interesting. I haven't decided yet if I want the bolters to not investigate, if they should be left out of the list, because they are supposed to be more finicky.
Flight noises should probably make them run instead of investigate.
Yeah. Which I wonder if they have their own classification. They might not. They might just be another.
They could be reusing the investigation code. Because now it's running, but that's probably because it's seen it.
Yeah. So these guys will all group together, and then after they've been initiated, you can actually start to see here, now large parts of the biters will either shift towards me, or they'll eventually start to move off together. And so it's kind of this like how the code is getting initiated and then how it's sticking with them. Kind of the problem that I'm seeing is that basically once I get them moving, I've now been able to interrupt their movement so they stop moving if they spot the player, but otherwise they just kind of continuously move around. And I've also been looking at writing, so you can see here now that this volatile is actually knocking people back. So I use the code from the goon to try to set this character up to where he actually can shift people out of the way. Because previously they do a terrible job of like actually just getting in each other's pathways. And so I've
They're
got it.
supposed to be the dominant zombies, and they can't move all the rest of the way.
The goons are a terrible example of where like they just kind of they get like clipped on something and then they just sit there and run and run and run and run. And so I've been trying to see how I can improve that to get them to where
Yeah,
they're
I was playing through. I had a save where I was trying the full story with your mod installed.
yeah.
And the first mission where you come across a goon, uh, where you're getting the crystals and that from the bandits, the goon ran up on top of the amortizer, the skip bin thing.
Yeah.
Uh, got stuck, couldn't get back down.
Yeah, they're it's like the more it's the more you try to make these guys realistic, the more you try to get them to move and stuff like that, the more it starts to highlight how they're not meant to move. And like the other day, I was doing a test and I was having them move around the map, and they got stuck on the back tailpipe of a truck or whatever, and they were literally all of them were coming and getting jammed up on this car because the car was not meant to be there with the baked nav mesh that they did, but then they didn't update the nav mesh kind of thing. So they're all trying to walk through the vehicle and just getting stuck, and it's just kind of like it's little things like that that you start to realize, oh, I can see now why they're not meant to move around the city. You start to kind of see that they're not meant to move around the city.
It's so boring when they don't move around the city.
Because, like, the whole map is just kind of sitting there, It's boring. So we're going to keep trying and seeing if we can make that a little bit more interesting. For sure. So we're... So with my biters, I was noticing that my biters look like they're also no longer using this as much as I'd like them to. So let's see if we can actually make them start moving sooner. And then for the volatiles, we had a runner go running through the city. We continue to try to see here. There it is. So if condition is night, let's actually see if we can get him. And needs to go after reaction. So how's your week been, man?
Not incredibly eventful. It's just a lot of finishing up with this first year of my college course.
Oh, okay. What you taking?
Mechanical engineering.
Ooh, very nice.
And hoping to get into an apprenticeship for next year.
Very nice. That's awesome. What area of the field are you going for?
Manufacturing mainly.
Nice. Okay. Well, I hope your school is interesting and they have lots of applied engineering examples and stuff. That's it's always fun.
Oh, yeah, no, they're pretty good. They have a workshop there that's basically just filled with about any machine you'd never really need to use.
Oh, that's amazing. Very good.
Yeah, no, it's been alright. I've been doing well.
That's great. Cool.
That's preparing for your marriage next month.
Oh, we just got back. We were just up. We did the final run of going up there and meeting with people and making sure everything's set because it's a couple of hours away where we're actually getting married. It's back where I'm from, and so we just got back a couple of hours ago, and it's good. It's just that was like the last. This was the last major weekend of going and making sure that everything's like good to go. And now we get to wait for 3 weeks and then finally get to do it. We've been waiting for a year, so it's pretty exciting. Can't believe it's finally happening.
You have my congratulations for when the time arrives.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So I think so one of the things with the so to kind of I don't know if it helps to explain, but basically the breakdown of AI that I've seen so far is that they basically have a real time update call that is playing in the background for every AI that's helping determine what they do and the pacing and that kind of thing. Some of them have what's called tactics, and then some of them have a basic update. It's really kind of sad because you start to see which characters are meant to actually be smart in fighting and which ones are meant to be pretty stupid. The one with tactics obviously are getting updates of like distance and that kind of thing, and that's feeding into their behavior. But the ones that just have a common update are basically just running at the target, attacking.
Is that why sometimes when you're in fights with volatiles, they sort of like circle around you slightly
So
before they actually go in for a lunge?
yeah, so that's based on their so over here on and I've actually been trying to remove some of that code on some of these guys to make them creepier to where they're just constantly coming at you. The Banshee's a good example of that. They wrote in this code, which let me shout out real quick to Last Thorax. Thanks for joining the stream as well. It's good to have you here. And basically, they wrote in some of this code. It was like the very first time I really started to notice this when I was playing the very beginning of the game. I was noticing that the all the enemies basically are watching the player. If the player is being actively attacked, then the rest of them just kind of go like, "We're good," until they're done getting attacked. And that has to do with their slot system, but also this little script that's called Keep Distance. And basically, this randomly fires to basically say like, "Let's make the game easier," so that way these guys.
They have a code for zombies to basically sit there and think.
Yeah, well, they're basically like, we'll leave you alone for a second so you have a chance to get away, and so I've been trying on some of them to get rid of that, and I think I'm actually going to try that with the volatile as well. I've already
Considering the nature of the zombies that we've been introduced to, I really don't know whether or not that's a smart idea to make them decide not to fight.
Yeah, it's
because
you know
you're in the
it's
middle of being swarmed.
well, I think they made some very hard decisions. I think on basically making this game to where the youngest player could play the game and not have any difficulty beating it, kind of thing. Which for marketing purposes I get, but that's the whole benefit of having mods, right?
Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you can tell sometimes the zombies that are sort of meant to just run in and do everything possible in their power to just completely destroy you.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously some that want to sit back and do what they can from a distance, like the spitters, for example. I don't really see the spitters like actively trying to pursue you. They just sort of launch stuff at you all the time. Whereas when you've got the virals, have such little chill once they've spotted a human.
Yeah.
I think I've honestly been brutalized faster by virals than I have with volatiles or demolishers or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and
I also sort of like the, as I said with volatiles, the one thing I really like about them, especially in this game, is obviously in the first game they were incredibly destructive, and that's sort of the whole fear behind them.
Yeah.
But they've also added this sort of like animalistic behavior to them. Like they have this this weird crawl. Sometimes when they're fighting, they sort of like stretch themselves out and start roaring at you, or they start sort of circling around you.
Yeah, I thought, the other day I was looking at their mocap, and it's very interesting. It's like by mocap, I mean just their animations of their humans or their volatiles or whatever, and it's like they took this guy in a mocap suit and they were like, do these like jump swipes and just keep doing these like jump swipes, but they don't do anything with their mouths, and that just like drives me crazy. That I'm
Yeah,
sitting there going like,
I've noticed
oh,
the only time they actually really do something with their mouths is obviously when they're roaring.
right, and it's just like
Um,
these guys, like that's the feature, right? Is that they have the
yeah,
predator mouth. Like the predator mouth is like, their whole bread and butter, that they have these
the
jaws or whatever.
the roaring like mandibles thing should be a lot more prevalent in this game now that like half the zombie types have them because they've
Yeah,
introduced the concept of viral to volatile position getting derailed by chemicals makes the special infected. That's why the goons have split jaws, the demolishers have split
sure,
jaws, the banshees have split jaws.
sure.
Um,
Well,
but they don't really do much with those split jaws.
yeah, which is a shame because they're basically, they use their Catwoman claws, and that's pretty much it. Um, so to kind of break this down, so basically in the strafing code that you just mentioned, they actually, I thought it was so that they could get the line of sight on the player, like if they lost sight, that they could kind of move back and forth. But it really is so that it only allows the player time to do anything, essentially, where this fires through to where basically they try to go up and attack the player, and then once they do that, they then back off. They then wait for at least 10 seconds, and then they have a second one. So they're doing this twice, where first they move backwards for 10 seconds, then they try to attack the player. That's on a 6-second cooldown, so they will only attack the player every 6 seconds, and then after that they will try to move left, move right, and then try again, kind of thing.
That explains a lot of the fights I've had with volatiles.
And so essentially, before I was kind of removing this code to where we'll try to. But the problem is that unless you got good animations and stuff to like replace this with, then it kind of leaves a gap. So what I've been trying to do is to keep it simple. It's less work, obviously. Is just reduce the cooldowns, because they're supposed to be setting these in. Almost always they set these to profiles so that you can go right like difficulty levels, but in this case they're just hard coding the cooldown times. So to help tie this into difficulty level, instead of lowering it here, I think what I'm going to try to do is go over to their profiles and set it in their profiles. So their profile actually has faster attack speed, so that so that way the low level ones,
Like shorter cooldowns on harder difficulties.
exactly, so that way as you play the game they get more difficult.
Higher level difficulty, higher level volatiles will just brutalize you. The easy difficulty obviously gives you a little bit of breathing room.
Because I did notice that the it looks like a large amount of people are giving feedback that the volatiles are too difficult right now, and that the spawns are too high for volatiles, and so um,
In the mod or in the base game?
in the mod, they don't exist in the base game.
Yeah, well,
um,
yeah, true. But then on
uh,
the very rare occasions that you do fight a volatile in the base game,
yeah.
if you fight them at all, I don't really fight them normally in the base game. Whenever I'm killing a volatile in the base game, it's from like the top of the ladder, just because I like to tease them.
Yeah.
And actually, you notice a lot more. Actually, they're. I was going to say this earlier. But like when you're talking about how they have like the cooldown with the attack,
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to some of the standoffs I've had with them, and the amount of times they can get a really easy shot at me with like their spear attack, but they decide to sort of snarl and roar at me instead.
Yeah, I actually, that was another one that I saw up higher here. They actually have two of them. So they give two separate times with two separate different cooldowns for taunting, which is interesting. I've actually never seen two separate two separate ones like
But
that where
they do
they're,
it like one after another every time, don't they?
well,
I've never seen,
one's like 20
never seen
seconds
a
and one's
volatile.
7.
I've never seen a volatile do the snarl, then attack, then do the roar. It's always snarl, roar, and then sometimes it goes back to the snarl, and then it swipes or whatever.
Yeah, they're pretty. After you start to watch them for a little bit, you can see their patterns pretty quick. It would be interesting to try to. I haven't figured out how to randomize their code yet, but it would be interesting to try to at least randomize some of this stuff.
Definitely will add some unpredictability to try to fight them, because that's sort of their huge, their biggest weak point. When they actually attack, you have to be really careful. If they latch onto you, you're dead. You're completely gone.
Yeah.
But you have such a huge window of time to actually attack them, because for being somewhat intelligent, very animalistic, practically their own species, they still haven't quite figured out the fact that haunting your enemy doesn't kill them.
Yeah. So they have like even things like delay target spotting. So target prediction time is pretty low, but if they've got the delay on here, I'm gonna go through and shuffle some of their parameters.
Did you say they have a delayed detection time?
Yeah.
Like when they're spotting it?
Yeah. And I've turned a lot of that up, and so the difference is that I've boosted certain systems, but they have other systems that are essentially dumbing them back down.
They're doing them dirty, honestly.
Attempt range.
Here's like, whenever I sit there and think of volatiles, I think like they're essentially the absolute alphas. I mean, if you look at the zombie life cycle, they're meant to be like the final stage of the basic. I would call it de-evolution. The thing is with volatiles is they go from human to infected to not incredibly smart, very instinctive virals.
Yeah.
And then they suddenly jump up to like defending, hunting. They learn that they can attack from a distance. They're almost an evolution, less of a de-evolution.
Sure.
Whenever I think of volatiles with Dying Light, I always think of like complete and utter killing machines. They're the pinnacle of what the virus is capable of.
And that's really what I want to try to emphasize. Well, and the biters are really where I've been trying to focus the efforts for I Am Legion for the last couple of years of just, in the first game they made the volatiles pretty smart. They were pretty creepy in the first game. In this one,
very dangerous.
They're definitely a little bit dumber, but they've added verticality to the cities, so it's harder to program AI that move over multi-stories and stuff like that. But beyond just making the biters smarter, I really think trying to nail how these volatiles are updated and better represented, I think would really that would make me a lot happier before releasing 1.0 is to actually have these guys behaving in a way that's way more threatening.
Absolutely.
Because I got the Banshees. I mean, the Banshees are annoying as hell, but at least they're not what they originally were, because they were just no threat whatsoever. I mean, they just go jump around on the tops of zombie heads, and that's pretty much as dangerous as they were.
Yeah, the first fight I had with an IALR, actually, that thing beat my ass 7 times before I actually killed it.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I'm getting ready here shortly to do my playthrough, my official playthrough, and I'm a little interested about that very first interaction because you have the garbage weapons and that kind of thing, and so I'm interested.
Very difficult when you don't actually have the tools to dispose of them.
Yeah.
And that's also why I don't know if you read the mod request of Dying Light 2, but I mentioned if there's any sort of like. I feel like there's a mechanic with the Banshees where they have like a lock on or like a homing system, so they don't actually miss you.
Yeah, but
and actually, really, what they can miss you is if you dodge them like literal frame perfect timing.
Yeah, let me actually. Thanks for mentioning that. I saw your request earlier. That's their standard. That's their standard attack here. Um,
I feel like if you want to try and like balance out the banshees so that they're still like obviously difficult to fight. That I mean, they're essentially just like dive bombing zombies. I assume they'd be pretty difficult to fight. But obviously, the fact that they sort of it really does feel like they're actually homing in on you, which
yeah,
doesn't feel right. I don't think a zombie of any kind would figure out a way to adjust itself midair. I mean, regular thinking humans don't really do that very well.
yeah. Well, I mean, you can't actually momentum wise, you can't actually
I mean, yeah,
shift them
momentum
in
and physics and shit would literally stop us from doing that.
there. I'm trying to see here if let's see here if they've got so they attack, jump from ledge, blend out when possible. Then they have a parallel. It says distance to target, jump strike. There it is. Enable position correction. For shits and giggles, I'm going to set this to false and let's find out what that looks like. My guess is that they're going to miss every time. What I'll probably end up doing is trying to increase their speed so that they come shooting at you.
They lunge fast.
So that way, because they have this direction correction speed, so I'll come back to this, but I'll that's now turned off, so easy enough. I don't mind doing it. It just kind of comes down to the question of like, they still gonna work? I that might completely break them. I don't know if it will or not.
One can hope.
Yeah. Say combat radius, jump from max range, use prediction. So the prediction is what I was originally thinking, horizontal only, true. It may be their prediction as well, but that's the target in radius, which means basically it predicts where you're going to move to. So we want to leave that on. And then, so we'll leave that on. And did I make this change? I did. I keep doing this. Doesn't need to be here. Needs to be here.
Wish you luck on fighting the first banshee with your mod because they are very difficult.
Yeah, I wish.
Literally, the only way I could kill it was doing the one method I really didn't want to use fighting zombies, which is sort of like locking them in a corner so they can't actually go anywhere.
And just beat the hell out of them.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that because I thought it was going to be really boring, which it was. I like the banshees are probably my favorite new zombie.
Yeah.
Just because they're such a different. They require such different like thoughts when you're actually like fighting them properly. If you're just going to lock them in a corner, then you just treat them like any zombie.
Sure.
But the banshee's not any kind of zombie. It's a zombie that has the ability to climb up on buildings and formulate like an attack.
Yeah.
And just launch itself at you at full force. That's not a zombie. You just fight regularly.
Sure. Well, I think that they're the thing that they remind me of the most is the hunter off of Left 4 Dead. And say again.
I don't know what you're on about.
The you remember the let's see. Did you ever play Left 4 Dead?
Briefly, yeah.
Yeah, they had these little guys that this is them, and they're essentially this. I mean, it's essentially the exact same concept because they have the exploder, they have the spitter, they have they don't have the smoker, but they have the goon or the tank. Let's see. They don't have the one. What was that little annoying one that would jump on your head? That was from Left 4 Dead 2. But they have most of these special infected from the first game or from Left 4 Dead present in these newer games because they kind of like even the charger. So I mean, the charger is the literal. It's called the charger in the in the new game, and so it's like they kind of reuse the same concepts. The difference is that this sucker in Left 4 Dead is deadly. Like he's the most deadly of all the creatures in the game because
like to the targets stupid.
oh well, I mean the hunter. The hunter is the most dangerous because it's like
Yeah.
he'll pin down. They wrote the code to where he's watching constantly how far away all the members are, and it always goes after the guy who's furthest away from everyone. And then it takes like 3 or 4 swipes to take you down, kind of thing. And so they were just super annoying, super intense.
So you like to go after essentially the one player that doesn't have.
Exactly, because that in all the special infected do that in Left 4 Dead of where they target the player with the lowest health or they target the one furthest away from the team or whatever, and they made a brilliant system because of that.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of the zombie types, by the way.
Yeah.
And how some of them similarly named to Left 4 Dead zombies.
Yeah.
Have you noticed whenever you play through whenever you look at like Dying Light 2, the game, I've noticed the game does not seem to actually know what its own zombies are called. I've seen the bomber be called the bomber, the exploder, and the suicider. The charger's been called the charger and rampage. I don't ever call them that. I just call them baby demolishers because they are.
Yeah.
The demolisher got called a wrecking ball in one of the missions.
Nice.
But I sort of sat there and just went, does the game not know what its own zombies are called?
Yeah.
There's again the bomber has 3 different aliases.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like their problem is it's a branding issue where they were like, I don't know if they it was 8 years of development or 7 or 6 or however many years it was to get this game across. Who knows what kind of legal battles they had to fight for different infected and that kind of thing. And so I feel like it's one of those deals where as the game was developed, they kept switching kind of the overall names and kind of the approach of some of their different zombies to where I'm sure it's a legal battle every single time you make a zombie game. They have to take on Valve, which is a major company. I'm not sure who started doing the first zombie games, but I'm pretty sure Left 4 Dead has pretty much coined most of the zombie game franchises ever since. And so because of that, to be honest, with copyright law and everything, I have no idea how they can call it a charger because they call their stuff charger. Charger's been branded by Valve for 12 years now, so it's like I don't know how they're doing that, but I will say that
why it's referred to as a rampage in game at times.
Well, I will say that the most confusing part is knowing how to like call these guys in the code because you're not kidding. Their names change in the code as well multiple times. So it's like yeah. So it's just like Jesus. Which one is this? Like, why?
They refer. What do they refer the drowners to as in the code?
The drowners are pretty much all they are is a variant of the exploder.
Yeah, I was wondering like if the game would recognize them as drowners or if they recognize them as exploder or suicider.
Yeah, it's just a variant of the bomber or whatever. So I'm trying to hook this up. We'll see how this goes.
They're not considered their own infected type. They're just considered a variant.
Yeah, they're just a slight variation of the same.
Nice. That makes me find them even more boring.
Well, I did notice that they are the ones with the least amount of code. The exploders They're very limited. They run at you and they explode. I am trying to
Or in the bomber's case, they waddle at you and explode. But yeah.
sure. I'm trying to see if there's anything that can be done for them, because if they didn't write anything more interesting as far as code, and we don't want to make them even more obnoxious as far as like how they run at the player and stuff like that. Like obviously we don't want to make people frustrated that they can't ever kill them kind of thing, but there's got to be like something that can be done to make them more scary as an enemy.
The biggest thing I've noticed about the bombers, and also subsequently the drowners in the second game, is that they never have anything on them. They had that happen in the first game, where even if a bomber blew up, you could still search them. And I'm pretty sure there might have been remnants of that mechanic as well, because you can still see the body of the bomber outlined on the ground as if you could search it, but you can't.
Yeah, it's just the legs, right? Kind of thing.
It's nothing. It's just a blood pool, but the game still outlines the body aura when you do survival sense.
Oh, fun!
So it's a thing you could search.
Well, I know I've seen the model, so that might be a bug, because they definitely have the model available. They short.
And also with this again with the lack of items, if you find like ironically a drowned drowner, they don't have anything.
Huh. Let's see. Without removing their code for their taunt system, because first they have their scream, and then they have whatever they do right before they pounce. Basically what I'm going to do is set these to a timer that we can call, so that way we can go in here and change this as much as we want instead of having that hard-coded. And then I'll just try to dial that in. Yeah, and then that way it'll go down to all of them. So everybody will use this, so I can test with this. Because currently that has them doing this standard, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so this should, see, that's the default. Yeah. So this should have them attacking faster, and then also they're getting the combat radius, combat targeting radius. So there's a couple of things I need to test, so I'll have to go ahead and launch up and make sure this is working. Make sure I didn't break them too bad. And then their idle walk, let me make sure that can be interrupted. Basically, we have to go over to combat, volatile combat, and then make sure. This was a fun one. This one bothered me for a while because I couldn't figure out why. Basically, you get them moving to where everybody's like moving around, and then for whatever reason, they just never stop moving. You know, they're all shuffling around the map and they never stop, and it's like, why the hell don't they stop moving? And it's because you have to add this little script here that says that it can stop them from moving. And so now I know that you have to add that like always. So if you ever want them to stop moving, you have to make sure to tell them stop moving. It's obvious in hindsight, but that one threw me off for a while. Let's see. So, I don't know if you've messed around with Discord much, but they've really turned that into a money-making enterprise.
Yeah.
as far as like, yeah, because like usually it's like a hosting platform for like, it's just a chat. They've they've made it to where like a standard one that has like very basic features. I mean, you're talking like upwards of $30 a month kind of thing. It's like, what for very basic features?
£30 a month. Discord's becoming EA.
Yeah, it's like, you could buy, and that's a whole platform to, play games and meet people to talk about games. And it's like, you pay more for that than you pay for the games.
Like Discord voice chat for just £35 a month.
Let's see. So we'll get that and then we'll launch. And it looks like Wacko and Roblo's actually got a good multiplayer session.
Looks like a game, which is great because I've told a friend of mine that once you're rolling volatiles on do you still have like the mini chase system? The thing for like everyone spots you.
The spawners. No, I took that out for just because everybody pretty much immediately said they were just getting swarmed with volatiles. So I'm continuing to kind of look at that one.
I've told the guy that I need to drag him through some scary ass night times very much against as well. So I'm very glad that the multiplayer is still working.
Yeah.
So I got to test out the climbing demolisher, which made for an incredibly entertaining fight because I've never once seen those things.
So I think he yelled because of noise. They're all being driven through noise. So unless that's my movement code that's now moving them through the world. That could actually be my movement code. Let me see here. I do feel like I'm seeing more of them moving. Yeah, I think more of them are moving, which is fun. They're definitely
the all-seeing.
Yeah, and then that volatile is so I do think that that's the that's where I did the UV, where I was trying to increase their UV system. I think I messed up their ability to move using the system that I have now. Something's like counteracting the code I was writing. So two systems are fighting each other essentially. Hey, Tom Riddle, thanks for joining on the YouTube. I'm currently working on volatiles. I'm trying to make volatiles more scary at night. So I'm trying to get them moving around the city and going out and... Ooh, someone's running. Alright, so still got my running guy, so that didn't change. So then we got new sound here. Ooh.
From watching the stream when you have like the noise going off, just how many bloody howlers they've put on the map.
Yeah. So that one I'm getting ready to look at trying to set up a new spawn system on here that I think is going to work a lot better than the current spawn system. Oh, someone blew up. Oh, I guess the question is if they blew up, why did that blow me up?
It should be a better thing with this game.
Yeah.
Because I've had like grenades that don't blow me up when I'm basically standing next to them.
Yeah.
The fire hydrant blows up 7,000 feet away and lifts the entire world into the air or something like that.
Yeah. Alright, looks like zombies are now doing their movement, which is great. They're actually shifting around a good amount. At least some of them. So
Yeah, see what I mean with all the hulls. In one direction, I can see at least 3 hulls.
yeah. And now they move, so now you got to deal with moving howlers. But that's kind of
moving in the same direction because that would cause a problem.
I think that's you know, that kind of encourages to stick to the roofs kind of thing, so that way you're not.
Yeah, the rooftop.
Yeah.
The rooftop gameplay that the game seems to advertise.
He kept going. Now if I can just get oh shit. Hey bud. Now this is what I was talking about earlier, where so now his combat is being interrupted by his movement system. So his primary goal is movement. And that's great. Oh, you've gotten stupid as well. I wonder why he's stuck.
This was happening with the new game volatiles that they added in their last patch. I put a video of it in gameplay sharing. I think the volatile it spots me, but it seems to not be able to
Attack?
It doesn't seem to. It's not that they can't attack. I feel like it's either a verticality thing or it's a spawn area thing, because the volatile can't. It doesn't seem to want to attack you if either you're not on the same vertical level as it, or if you're too far away from where it's spawned, which is a bit strange.
Interesting.
I had one that like sort of running around in circles from where it spawned, but as soon as I sort of got closer and I was even right next to a spawn, it couldn't get the attack on me. It just kept running back to a spawn. But as soon as I got on the same level as it, I got torn apart.
See, what I find interesting about the game is that it randomly, you'll see these like incidents where a system will get like jammed up, and I think it's where they have too many different opposing systems. Some systems are doing certain things, and other systems are doing others. And so what the end result is that these guys were standing in that volatile's way. He was turning in circles because he couldn't get past them. And they wouldn't do anything, so their like physics weren't reacting, like nothing. They were just standing there, and they were like solid. And then as soon as I hit something, then their noise sensors activated, and when their noise sensors activated, then all of a sudden their physics activated, and he could now get past them, kind of thing. And so it's very interesting where like it's like their systems are getting turned off for whatever reason, their physics or whatever are just getting disabled, and then a system is turning it back on, and sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Like with the system that turned it back on, it doesn't really make sense why that system turned it back on and others don't. So it's like a couple of people have noted it before, where basically it's like you'll see the AI and they're behaving one way, and then you get closer, and then all of a sudden they start acting normal, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen that. It happened in the first game as well. You're like a certain distance away from regular biters. They seem to just stand there.
Yeah.
Once you get closer, then they start actually like figuring out that they're allowed to move and that they can actually like run around. Not run around, but walk around.
Poor guy. These guys are super confused. Did he survive? I guess he did.
I was just sort of watching that volatile just sprint around, and it doesn't really seem to understand what to do.
Yeah, so currently that's because I've changed their behavior modules to where they only know how to run, and the code that I just added that basically said that they can detect the player, or they can stop running if they find the player, isn't working because in some cases they don't have the concept of like a movement module. So certain things like a biter has a concept of a movement model because or module because they're supposed to move. Well, not really. They play their idle state where they just kind of move around, but then they literally just behave in a way that as soon as they detect the player, they start moving towards the player. Um, and so because of that, they're very simple. Either I don't see the player and I stand here, or I see the player and I go after the player. So they have the concept of a movement module, which is move towards the player. The volatiles don't have a lot of that code established for them. They only have the concept of are you in a chase, are you not in a chase? And so because of that, you get all sorts of things where they're not behaving how they normally would. Like they're not attacking humans if they're so the like generic ones that they have that spawn at the red flare site, they'll move around and sometimes they won't attack humans. They'll just kind of keep crawling around until they see the player. Stuff like that. It's where their sensors aren't properly activating and deactivating. And so right now they're moving around the map and they should stop when they see the player, but maybe they don't have a concept of a formal movement module. And there's no way for me to. Well,
it's a problem you have to endure when they decide to make literally their most iconic zombie
so
basically chase exclusive.
here's the guy that I was talking about. If did they make that brighter? They made that way brighter. So, and it doesn't look like he's. No, there he goes. So this is the one I was talking about earlier. Um, he basically just kind of hangs out up there. But okay, so we messed these guys up by going and adding. We did it. You and I did that platoon.
Um,
Yeah, I can't believe you also did that. Amateur hour. Let me see.
do better next time.
Appreciate that. So basically, I had them to where they were reacting. So basically, these are linear, and so because of that, so they're escaping from sunlight. I'm gonna get rid of the. I'm not gonna get rid of. I'm gonna just reset that back to default. Let's see if we can get them moving, and then I'm gonna do it right after combat. So they'll go and do their combat first before they move. And then I'm going to go back to the volatile code. Let's go to their general code and remove. They did reset that, but they have their sunlight one. Let's test with this and see if that makes it any better. So slowly but surely. Hey, Nuth, how's it going? Thanks for joining on the Discord server. Oh, does anybody know? One of the other members mentioned that there was a issue with the event. So they mentioned the event system, or not the event system, but the double XP event. They were mentioning that they were not going to play while the event was ongoing, and I don't know if that's because they were running into issues with the mod or any reason that you wouldn't play while the event was going. But anybody, or do you have any idea what that might be referring to?
Not I haven't actually played the event yet.
Okay.
What's the event?
Uh,
Only double X, is it double XP you were saying?
yeah.
Seems to be conflicting with Doc's mod.
Like what?
Hey, Faison, how's it going, man?
Doesn't seem to want to. If I
Well-
think I remember this message. It was in.
Well, that's the thing is there's so many threads now, it's kind of hard to keep track. But I think it was one of the newer players, and he was just mentioning that he didn't know if he could play the event or not. And I thought he could, but he was saying something along the lines of he was just going to wait until the event was over before he played the mod. And I think it was because he thought he was going to get banned or something like that. But I wasn't 100%, and I didn't know if you guys had played since the
I
event.
remember those messages. I was saying something about continually being disconnected or something. Trying to see where that was. I think I was afraid of
Okay.
I think they were meant. I don't remember these texts very well, but I think the guy said something about I would always get a message saying I couldn't participate in a mod because it detected it changed game files.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, so that's separate, and I'm not sure if that's...
Yeah, it said that with Dying Light 1 I used mod, it prevented me from participating in the online community events, asking if that would happen in Dying Light 2 as well.
Right.
I don't think he knows whether or not the events are I don't think they know if the event's going to prevent them from playing at the moment. I think it's like a small concern.
Yeah, just like asking for a heads up if that is
Yeah.
the case.
If it will happen.
Yeah.
Being
I'm not sure. I just saw one go running the wrong way. Oh, yep. Okay.
He just
Yeah.
wants a hug.
Oof. Okay. So he's definitely attacking, and I also noticed that he's doing the... Oof. He's doing the swipe, it looks like a lot more, so looks like the attack cooldown thing helped as well. If people were complaining about the difficulty of volatiles before, they're going to love this update. So one kind of ran off the other direction, though. So let me...
I think the other one just didn't spot you. It looked like one of the patrolling ones. It just didn't seem to know you were there.
Oh, here we go. Here's the other... Yeah, they really... I mean, this flare... Oh. Wonder if that's the one.
Seen you already.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that flare is obnoxious, man. And so this is the one, so that one...
Just the one. It's just from
Yeah, I would say they're a little bit more aggressive. Small amount.
It didn't seem to care very much about the EV light.
Small amount of aggressive. Hey, Unlucky Noob, thanks for joining us on the YouTube server or stream. Spitter's moving still, so he's working well. And then you guys mentioned, I had someone on here the other day mention that they never saw the backpack guys.
They're not very basic.
Oh, in the base game, absolutely. Okay, I thought you guys were saying in the mod. I'm sitting there like,
I've still a lot of them with the mod. But not a lot of them, but they're definitely the frequent.
ooh, shit.
I mean backpack.
Ooh, shit.
Like, no sense that.
All right, so we got him attack. We definitely got him attacking. So I would say he definitely attacks. He's not pouncing though. Good lord. Yeah. Okay. So the cooldown is obviously way too low because all he's doing is attacking. Oh damn!
Yeah, they still need to be able to balance.
Yeah. So possibly.
Or make them only pounce doing a chase.
They should do the virals doing, like, I don't know if it's just like an attack that they do, just at random, or if they do it because you're at a distance.
So from this point, I could probably though. So he's now just. Damn, man. He's just attacking like crazy, which I like. Other than the fact that he becomes like incredibly like dangerous. I mean, like as far as like getting away, all you can do is run. So let me try this. Let me try to see what it's like to flee from this guy. If I have one find me. Oh yeah. If I have one find me. If I can get one to find me.
Just
Oh shit. Well.
And then you get spittered.
Hey Harry, how's it going? Nope, that didn't work.
Good, thank you.
All right, so I'd say they're a little bit more aggressive. Doing good, man. Trying to make the volatiles have a little bit more intelligent space in the mod. So look at these guys. Look at them. They are just on full hunt mode. Now I just need to make them to where they're not running, to where they're crawling instead. But I would definitely say that they're out there.
Nice.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, yeah,
Oh shit.
do they just like not care about UV lighting? Was that like a fault of the last update?
So that is potentially. So I just pulled off my. Oh, okay. That's not one. I just pulled off my modifications. I just pulled off my modifications to the UV light changes. So technically, damn man, they are just everywhere. Okay. Well, I'm not playing too great right now. Let me see if I can get my head in the game here. So I pulled off all my modifications, so this is just the raw guys as far as their shit. Oh shit. Oh
So
shit.
they've definitely messed up the
Oh, shit.
UV reactions, I guess.
So you think that's oh damn. All right. Well, you got mad too. So he actually spit. And the pathfinding is still having its challenges as well. Oh, okay. And I think they're using a pretty good prediction model to try to get in front of me, which is also pretty good. Because I think I got like 3 after me now.
Have a little bit more brain to them.
Alright, so I think at this point, all I need to do is update their tactics system to make them a little bit more distance driven so that they can determine whether they want to pounce or whether or not they want to swipe. This is bad.
This just reminds me of oh my god, that's a lot of
Oh
things.
fuck! Oh.
Reminds me of, you know, the first chase that you get with the story. I don't know if you actually you play through the story.
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Yes.
The first chase when you have to go to Killian's.
Yeah.
I know why they do the goons do spawn in chase.
Yes.
Alright, that's gonna be a problem. That's a good boy. The first chase, I don't know why I wasn't expecting no volatiles to go up in that first chase. But I'll tell you now, the run to Killian's place is a lot more intense when there are 7 volatiles chasing you up a chimney.
Yeah. Well, I'd say half the map is after me for sure right now. Oof. Yeah, so now what I need to do is, so I'm also trying to balance this obviously for the levels, so I need to confirm that they are not this fast and not this intense on the low level. But let me see if I can test the, oh shit. Let me see if I can test the Banshees as well. And also let's double down on testing the UV lights.
One of the guys in the Discord was asked if you did in the falling spike traps that were cut from retail.
Oh, no, I've seen lots of the code. Oh shit! They don't care at all. All right. Yeah. So that's got to be default. That I don't think that's my fault for them not caring about the UV light because I pulled my modifications out. So that's that's gonna make the game a little bit harder, or the mod, because
well, at least for the time being, I'm hoping they don't just leave volatiles.
Wait, this has to be a bug, right? Normally you end the cases by running to a safe house that has UV and everything.
But these aren't chases.
Yeah.
Oh, alright.
This is just AI, so.
They'll come in and wait or attack you whenever they please.
When you just died before it said chase ended.
He has,
yeah.
If I remember Doc's correctly, he has a system in place for the special infected where they wait around the area you died. And if you go back there, they'll continue going after you.
Yeah, oh shit. Man. Yeah, basically it's basically it was trying to make it to where if you did die there was a penalty for dying. Currently there's not really any type of system that says like you died, like that's bad. So if you do get attacked and they manage to kill you in that area, now the idea is that they'll continue to hunt for you in that area, so you will be less likely to return to that area unless you're trying to play like a quest or part of the game where you're required to go to an area, which will force the player to leave that area completely and then come back later, kind of thing. Hot zones, if you will.
Yeah.
But then also, I have the concept of mini chases, to where I've turned off the actual function right now, but the idea is that the volatiles work together. So that the volatiles are not, and is this an indicator of the biters no longer attacking? I might have, yeah. So the biters are now moving only as well. So I gotta fix he sees me though. So I want the volatiles, and that's what I'm working on now. I want them to actually work together as well. So potentially making it to where they will chase the player and scream for other volatiles, so it won't start a chase, it will just bring in more volatiles, so the volatiles will hunt you down. So
it's reminiscent of the first game a little bit.
So it won't be chase driven, like if you start an actual chase, if you go down and piss off a screamer, they'll summon goons and banshees and spitters and all the other types of special infected because they're screaming. But the volatiles will signal to each other and the map, so other zombies will go after you, but you have to be more worried about the volatiles, kind of thing.
Right now, it seems like turning on your flashlight it's just like not even feasible anymore. You know, when he gets into that much power, you know what I mean? Just in Dying Light 1, like you could kind of like avoid the volatiles because you had the mini map, right? And you saw the viewpoints of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in Dying Light 2, you don't have it, so you may shine your flashlight at one like just because you're not even seeing them. You know what I mean? Like, um, right now when I watch this, it just seems crazy. Like, like when you turn your flashlight the wrong direction, it's like 5 volatiles chasing you. It's like insane.
Well,
I like it. I like it, but it's like it seems really crazy right now.
well, see I have brought back the stealth function, so you can see here. Well, he sees me. That's not cool. Let me get away from here. So as long as I stay quiet, there's a volatile right below me, and he hasn't.
Yeah.
You see, he has a glitch with that car though, which is annoying. But basically, the stealth is in here, so if you crawl through the map at night, you could potentially avoid both screamers and volatiles. And I am going to try to slow the volatiles down. So right now they're running through the map. I'm going to try to make it to where they're crawling through the map, which will give you more time to avoid them. Because right now it's kind of like I don't even have time to avoid them. They're just like blasting through the map. That makes it pretty much it's a numbers game.
It's a bit of creepiness to them as well, because well, it's just a crawling animation, but like it's like this very sort of very sort of careful.
Can you make them crawl on the ceilings or something crazy like that? Do you think that could work?
No, not right now. Just because like it's like I was summarizing at the start of this that like out of the 11 or 12 behavioral nodes that they've got for these guys, only 4 or 5 of them are actually even designed for volatiles. All the other ones, they're pulling all of their AI directly from like generic AI. Like they're not even like very well written right now. And so expanding this AI is very difficult because they're not meant to be in the game right now. So here in the future, maybe, but like they have to like start writing some of the systems that would help with that.
They're sort of meant to be in the game. They're not meant to be where they are right now in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that's even present in their new game. So you can see like with the rooftop volatile and stuff. They're not really ready to actually be there.
Yeah. Well, I do love the fact that I was sitting there going like, they said that they put the Banshees and they put the Volatiles in at night, and I just love the fact that all they did was turn on the one encounter where you have the red flare. That's
I haven't actually seen extra Banshees at all.
Me either. I didn't actually. I haven't found where they're calling that code. I don't know what they're talking about.
I played through like a couple of nights to see if I could get any of the new spawns. The first night I saw one volatile, which was patrolling near a group of virals.
Yeah.
The second night, I again only found one volatile that was just sitting on the roof. I don't know what Banshees they're on about.
Let's see if he'll follow me. If I stay quiet.
I haven't actually seen.
Oh. Damn.
I haven't seen the volatiles. No, not the volatiles. The Banshees.
Well, I'm fucked.
At all.
Can I just go ahead and tell you guys how long I have searched for the sparkle code that they wrote for night? I have been... Yes, I have been actively searching for this stupid sparkle code that they have in this game. Someone was like, horror game, nighttime, yay sparkles? Like up here on the like rooftops, you have like trees that are like sparkly and shimmery. But
very post-apocalyptic.
Hey, give me 1 second. Let's see.
I do for sure. Another big zombie complaint, at least, with the Dynamite Zombies and the Revenants. Not because I don't like the Revenants, I just don't like the way they've used them.
Let's see.
I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of the use of Revenants as a boss fight.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of the reviews. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that, like, I actually kind of like these like small boss fights.
Yeah. I enjoyed them. Yeah, it's
Like-
what I originally thought would have happened with the Revenants.
Yeah, I think they're kind of too easy. Like, and like just with the way that you have so many like grenades and mines and everything in the game now. Just the fact that basically you're in this closed off area where you have no danger from being so loud and throwing just 10 grenades at the boss, it just makes it like a little bit too easy in my opinion. Otherwise, like, I think it's a cool addition. Like one of the things.
You just managed to get every hole in the air, just
Yep, basically. Can you guys confirm that you can still hear my mic? Shit, this is I need to be able to test the banshees, but I don't know how to test the banshees now that the volatiles are so angry. I have to turn down the volatiles to test the banshees at this point.
just like disable their attacking, just so they run around.
Make them dumb again? Yeah, that's a good point. Is I'll just have them.
It's a highlight away from one to test the other.
Yeah. Because I need to see if that prediction code actually works. But here's an example of like, so I just died in this area, right? So we head back over this way.
Yeah, they're still chasing him.
Well, actually, this is just an angry spitter. So it despawned, and my rooftop angry spitter is just going to town over here.
I think angry spit is an understatement.
He's pissed. I won't lie, when I was first messing around with the spawns and everything, I actually really enjoyed the idea of rooftop spitters. So that they're just raining down hell on you while you're running around the map.
Yeah. It definitely
Off
makes
the
it
edge.
feel very RPG-ish.
Off the edge.
Yeah, no, with the Revenants, I was entertaining this idea in my head that you could get like little groups of zombies in areas, and there'd be like a Revenant sort of in the middle of them. So if you piss off the Horde, then the Revenant, because they describe the Revenant as being able to like buff and revive zombies. So I had this
Like in Doom.
yeah, the buff terms. That's exactly what I was thinking of. But I had like, say it's like you piss off the Horde, and then the Revenant starts like spewing the gas and making the zombies like go fucking in a hell bit maniacal.
Nope.
Yeah.
That thing is what's going on.
Honestly, I think like me as well, like with the DLC, they overdid it. Like with all the like the buff totems, you have the ghosts, you have the stone gargoyles, you have. Suddenly there was just so much like special stuff that you could only kill with one special gun, or you would have to get rid of that zombie first. Like, I think with the like, especially with the second DLC, like at that point, there was just too much of it. Like,
Yeah.
like I kind of prefer more pure gameplay where it's like a good base and not so much like special stuff going on here. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
I did enjoy like Doom Eternal, but yeah, like, well, I don't know. There was just too much, and also the bosses were just fucking stupid in both DLC. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, and I'm not one of these people who have like massive issues with dealing with the Doom Hunters. Like, the final boss in the second DLC was just like, I don't know. Honestly, I think I cheated just so I could get over with beating it. Like,
Yeah.
because it was
Game was
like,
tough.
yeah.
Good lord. All right, so I need to get back to actually writing some stuff instead of testing this. Obviously, they're more intelligent now.
They're much angrier.
And actually, I might be able to use these guys as a special use case to see if I can make these guys. So, what are you guys' thoughts about seeing how I got 2 active people on here to ask some feedback? So, to make these guys creepier, one of the things I was thinking about is trying to make them prowl the rooftops more instead of having them down in the streets. Obviously, they'll be down in the streets, but sending them to the rooftops will make you, as you're running through the rooftops, you have to be scared of the fact that these guys might be out there on the roof waiting for you. But
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
But just having them focus
One
more.
of the biggest issues with Dying Light 2 is that the rooftops are so high. The streets are the streets are basically no span, not even at night, So
Yeah.
like, bringing them to the rooftop definitely.
The streets of Dying Light 2 are really only a threat to the very inconvenient placing of howlers.
Right.
Yeah.
But the rooftops. Whilst you're
They just hit you.
Yeah.
volatile this bit. Whilst the rooftops are meant to sort of be considered the safe haven of the game, because they're zombies, they're not going to be intelligent enough to realize that they can climb on the rooftops, at least in the base game. The volatiles we've already established the fact that they can climb, they can scale the walls.
Yeah.
But they've retained their ability to climb, perhaps probably even more effectively than
See,
the other zombie types.
I love the fact that as I'm running through here, I have volatiles running at my face, and there's not a chase going. There's not a chase yet. Half the map is
It would be really cool if we had like maybe different types of volatiles, like maybe one that is really aggressive, like this one, like keep it in the game, but make it like not every volatile is aggressive like that. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah.
But, like imagine if like randomly you just had one volatile that just goes 8-bit and it just chases you across the map like these guys do. Like, it would be so freaky.
Yeah, right now, one of the challenges that I've had is that they basically made it to where you can't inject custom spawns. And so that's been a challenge. But what I could do and what I'm trying to look at next is trying to, now that I realize I can inject custom spawns, what I'm trying to look at is, can I take levels 1 through 9 and can I have them spawn in randomly, to where that way sometimes I get a level 1, sometimes I get a level 4, sometimes I get a level 9, that kind of thing. So that one of the frustrating things is that they won't have any color representation to kind of let you know that, oh shit, this is a high level. But what it would do is that if I give special skills to a level 9 and I give less skills to a level 1, then essentially you would get what you're asking for, and that might be the only thing I can really do right now. But the problem with that is that all of your level 9s would have to be balanced to where essentially you would want to do at the beginning of the game only like levels 1 through 3 could spawn, then 3 through 7, 7 through 9, however you do it. But I get the feeling it's going to make the game easier.
New players.
Or way harder.
So it's old Villador, the first thing I see is a level 9 volatile.
Exactly. Exactly.
They put some shit in the pants.
Yeah.
Also, I think there needs to be like a reward to like taking on like higher levels. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be to a point where people would be just like, oh, the night is so dangerous. Like I might as well just not go out at night. Like there should be.
They mentioned on the Dying Light wiki, so you can kill volatiles and you can get high level loot.
Yeah.
I don't know who considers perfume high level loot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
It's not really what I'm after when I'm, basically putting my entire life on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To stop with the dominant species of the world right now.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons I've been looking at the loot. They also have pre-baked the loot as well, to where you can't add custom loot, which I was really upset about. Because I had a whole system design for a craft and loot system that you just can't do currently.
Where'd you get the walkie talkies and that from? Because I never is that like content or what happened there?
No, they're a valuable object that's in the game. The difference is that they put it in the valuable stash to where you can only collect one of them at a time and you can only sell them. So I basically just made those no longer valuable.
I never saw walkie talkies or anything as part of the base game. I was wondering if you just managed to dig out some cut content and put it back in.
I don't know if I did or not there. I didn't think I did, but maybe I did. I don't know, because that was definitely not. It was definitely in all the code lists that I was seeing. So I thought I was manipulating something that was already there, kind of thing.
Hello.
Hey, Fear, how's it going?
Lurking a little bit.
Yeah, checking out the super intense night.
I saw you were saying something about loot or something, right?
The loot system?
Yeah, you said something about not being able to choose the loot on your AI or whatever it was.
I can't inject custom loot.
So ideally what I would do is I would go and find different meshes in the game, and then I would create new types of loot, such as weapon parts and stuff like that. I could make like a whole crafting system that I would love to do. But they have here, I'll bring it up so I'm not just talking. Underneath scripts and then underneath inventory, they have this thing called versioning, or this folder called versioning. And underneath versioning, you can actually find every single item that they've placed into the game by its identifier code as well. And basically, as they're going through on the engine, I think they're baking out the information into these sheets, and you can't go create new ones. So I've been trying to go on here and basically go to the latest one and create a new item called item whatever, and then go throughout the entire code and reference that item and all that good stuff. And I can't get it to spawn into the game. So basically it's the same issues as the AI, to where you can reference the information of what they have in the game, but you can't actually create content for the game.
It's very interesting because obviously I'm coming from Dyna 1 modding because I haven't modded DL2 very much, but
yeah,
I know it is possible to add custom containers because I've made in DL1 you can do trees, for example.
Yes. Yeah, you could do it with Dying Light 1. You can't do it with 2 so far.
Oh, okay. Because I'm pretty new to the game in terms of modding.
Yeah, no, you're part of the Night Hunter mod on Dying Light 1, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm still working on it.
It's actually one of the reasons that I wanted to go back to Dying Light 1, actually, is that there's more systems that are available in Dying Light 1 than there are in 2. It's hard to believe, but even though there's more code exposed in Dying Light 2, there's definitely Actually, I can't really say that. I've been able to pull off way more in Dying Light 2 than I was ever able to do in Dying Light 1. The difference is that the system is actually stable enough to do it. In Dying Light 1, I ended up with like a lot of crashes just trying to do what I thought was very basic stuff.
Did you also have the developers sort of like fighting against
They
modding in Dying Light 1?
they didn't want their zombies to be modified. They made their zombies safeguarded for whatever reason. And I was reviewing that code a little bit again the other day, and it's actually where they first injected the domino code for their AI system, and I think it was for the reactions to the cart.
Yeah, we can hear.
And so I think from what I saw from where they created the pursuit, they essentially rewrote a bunch of the AI systems to be able to react and jump onto the cart and react to like a moving object. And so I'm not sure if basically what they did was turn off some of their physics systems because of a cart. They didn't want them blasting into the sky and that kind of thing. So they hooked up an animation system instead. And so I think what happened is they ended up having to safeguard the biters because of their new code that they wrote to get the carts working in the pursuit. So it may not have been necessarily anything they were trying to do to stop the modding. It might have been more of they needed to do a very specific system to get the carts working how they wanted them to. But either way, the end result was you couldn't modify the biters how I wanted to modify the biters.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I know that they were saying that the game is not supported for modding yet, especially when you don't have dev tools and stuff like that, because it actually helps a lot.
Yeah.
For finding methods and all of that. But I guess we'll see over time what we're gonna add for support of the game.
Well, they kind of This has also been a while too. So this is like 2015. So like 2015 time, they absolutely said that they supported the modding. The difference was that even though they said they supported it, they released their own developer tools. They're still moving. That didn't work with the prediction for the jumping, but yeah, they're still moving mid-air. But basically what they did was they said, yes, we support modders, good job, we love your work. And then they basically moved to make it to where they released their own developer tools, and then they were pushing a lot of their modding contests using the developer tools and stuff like that. And so they just basically said like, yeah, we love modders, here, use our stuff, don't modify our base game, don't mess with our campaign, modify this instead, which for the developer tools were custom maps. So you made your own little mini games, you didn't modify their game. So
yeah, for sure.
But as someone who's also crawled through the code on your side, you can still get away with a lot. It's just I think that the biters are pretty stupid in the first game. That's just my opinion.
In what sense of stupid?
Well, they basically, their prediction code and everything that they wrote for the biters, they're very sun-baked, I guess, as how you would describe a zombie, is that they're not very threatening. They're just kind of out there, and so if you choose to go down there and mess with them, then you have to deal with them. But otherwise, all you have to do is go stand on the hood of a car, and they will eventually get to you. But that's if you stand there for an upwards of 30 seconds to a minute. And so the lore of the game for the first game, they just made it so clear that the whole thing was that the world was dangerous, super challenging, super intense. And then if you actually go play the game and just walk around the base game, it's the same thing with the default zombies on here, which actually had a lot of people asking when I recorded this video, which I'll just briefly pull up so you kind of know what I'm talking about. they basically just wrote this code to where you don't need to run in the game, really, at all. All you have to do is just kind of move slightly. And if you move slightly, they can't get you, which is always just irked the hell out of me, because this is the, the base game on hard difficulty, and basically they just, technically in this I'm running in the sense that I'm like, got auto run or whatever, but in the first game you actually had to hold down shift, and I felt like you could do this times 10. Like you could just kind of walk in circles, and that AI could never really counter you. I mean, you were just, and so that for me that's just not very challenging, and that's all I was saying, is that they're just, it's great for a laugh, so you go out there and cut their legs off and mess with them and stuff like that. But as far as like it being like a challenging game, I didn't really think that they made it have that difficulty scaling that I would consider a challenge.
I think most of it is like forgiven by the general people playing the game, because zombies are stupid, and that's why they also kind of made it like that way in the first place.
Sure.
That's kind of their idea about zombies in general, and that's why it's like so janky though in the first game and the second game.
Sure.
I think Dying Light 1, like, in the beginning is so much different than when you were like midway in the game, and like when you first start the game and you only have like a pipe or something to kill a zombie.
Right.
It actually like if there's a car with a trunk that you want to open and there's like 20 zombies around it, I think in the beginning it can be actually challenging to do it.
Yeah.
Once you get to modifying your weapons and even have guns, like it becomes super easy,
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a problem for Dying Light 1, because you were always way closer to the zombies. Like I feel like with Dying Light 2, they focused so much on making the city bigger and bringing in this huge like conflict between several parties and the story and everything. I almost feel like the zombies became secondary. Like it's they don't even matter anymore. It's like even when you
Go down to the streets, it's like 5 of them standing around, and they like when you side with the peacekeepers and you get all these traps on the streets, uh, like what are you even using them for? To kill like 3 zombies. You can do this with like a drop kick. It's pointless. Yeah.
Well, it's always been about like scalability, and I would say that that's probably, I mean, most of the reviews out there have said it's a parkour game with zombies. And then I would say it's a parkour game with zombies and humans. Or maybe you go a different way. Say it's a parkour game with humans and then zombies, to where like their human AI is written. I mean, when I was updating the human AI, I mean, they're you as far as like parkour or like climbing or like chasing or really any of that. They're just meant to stand
Basically
there.
zombies too. Yeah.
They stand there, and then when they see the player, they run at the player. If too many of them run at the player, then only one attacks the player. The other ones just stand there. If the player does the jump kick or whatever, they actually have code that makes them move in the line of the player, so that if you do that combo mode where you daze one and jump over, they actually move closer so you can actually drop kick them. Stuff like that. Like they write the system to where it's designed for the player to kill them easier, essentially. And so because of that, I mean, and again, I'm not criticizing here. I'm just saying, like, as far as like a difficulty scaling goes, I just think that the game can be a little bit more random or
Yeah,
challenging or
look at the base you just got out of. Like, it's this huge peacekeeper base. It's like super fortified, but what is it fortified against? You know, like, what?
yeah.
It seems like to me, when I play vanilla Dying Light 2, it seems like the humans could have basically eradicated all the zombies within like 2 weeks or something, you know, and just
Right.
started living in peace because you know it's not like there's so many or they're so dangerous or anything like
Yeah.
you even have peacekeepers running around on the streets, and when zombies get near them, like it's not like they're like it's like super dangerous to them or something, you know, like it doesn't make sense.
They're still.
Yeah.
Let me try one more time. They're still hyper aiming.
Still really
at the
pissed
player.
at you, yeah. Oh god. Oh my god.
Demolishers are joining in the front as well.
I think my new favorite thing is that like with these mini chases that I put in as far as the spawn system to bring in the new special types of AI, the more spitters get near you, or not spitters but screamers, the more it generates the thing like demolishers and goons and that kind of thing. So maybe you survive the first wave, but eventually if you don't wipe out those screamers, like eventually it will just keep adding more and more high levels for you to contend with. Um, so with the correction for the Banshees, I was really hoping this enable position correction would help, but I think actually they have like a prediction model in here. I'm just trying to think if that would actually contain any of the. I don't think that hands off to the jump attack system. And this is just kind of a side note. I'm trying to make the Amplitude brought up a great point earlier that basically the AI, when they jump, the Banshee AI, they just basically aim right at the player and they always hit their mark unless you dodge, kind of thing. So it's kind of this idea of can we make them to where they have the potential of missing rather than always hitting the player.
I do maybe have like a suggestion for like an item that's in the game.
Sure.
Unless you've already changed it, of course. It's like the swimming booster. That item is pretty much useless now. If you
The
have
what
like
booster?
the swimming booster,
Oh.
it's basically what it does. It just you can just breathe underwater longer, but you know water is connected to your stamina, right? So if you have like a lot of stamina and your inhibitors points, you literally already have like 5 minutes of breathing underwater.
Yeah.
So you know
Which
that
wouldn't
feature
actually
kind of
work
becomes
with
redundant.
dolphins.
Gotcha.
Um, you know, something that you could do, for example, is maybe like double the swimming speed when you're underwater if you drink it or use it.
Yeah, I think that is a. Trying to think. Be under. We pull that up while you're because this kind of goes back to the like what's available. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you can't create new content, maybe you can at least modify the content that's already in there to make it a little bit better, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the quality of life stuff, you know.
Yeah. So I think the buffs is actually I don't know if it was normally buffs in the first one. Let's see, water. Yeah, underwater buff, swim, stamina usage. So, is it the? Looks like it is this buff. It's a potion, right?
Yeah, it's like those inhalers or whatever you call them.
Yeah. And it looks like all this does is turns down the stamina usage.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were saying try to do what with this?
You could maybe like double your swimming movement speed because there's like a variable for that.
Yeah.
It gives some meaning to you know using the item.
Yeah, they're so that it actually boosts movement rather than just the stamina usage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a great one. I think that is something that I would need to play around more with the actual campaign map and actually the missions and everything to determine if I think probably the biggest one is that as far as like I Am Legion goes, I'm looking at doing some other mods as well that are like more quality of life mods. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Changing the buffs would definitely be something that I think a lot of there's so many. Pretty much I've heard like all the inhalers are like people don't use the inhalers, so
I don't.
Yeah.
yeah. So figuring
Same,
out a way to make all of that more meaningful would definitely be. I would probably want to go after like most of these and try to. I guess the point is with like most of these systems, there's so many systems in the game that like just don't end up getting used at all because people are
Yeah,
like,
I haven't even bothered to like actually see what every single inhaler does because I look at the two of them and it's like this one makes you regenerate health. This one makes you breathe for longer underwater. So and I just sit there and think, okay, well those don't benefit me very much.
yeah,
Also, I feel like the whole inventory system is like it's not really made for you to use like 20 different items all the time. You know what I mean? Like there's a few items that are convenient to access, and then there's so many that just get like lost in the inventory, in my opinion. Like they kind of dropped the ball on it, if you ask me. Like it doesn't make sense that there's so many different things to select, and then like selecting them is like even with the controller it should be hell, but even on mouse and keyboard it's like it's not convenient at all, you know?
yeah.
It's a little bit finicky on mouse and keyboard.
Well, I've heard that like even with the different systems, like I've heard that even across like the consoles versus the PC, I feel like a lot of these systems are designed for console players, at
Yeah,
least some of them,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
they're meant to boost their ability to navigate and to move. But with PC games, I mean, we've had since like since the earliest shooter games, you've learned that you have to move in a certain way, and I feel like the longer they keep doing that, the more it kind of shows out that they have to add the handicap. Like for example, if you go into the code here and you just search handicap, they actually have entire modules of
What?
code that make the game easier. So like in the chase, they actually have all this code that fires during a chase that makes you climb easier and makes you run faster and jump further and slows down the enemies and like
Oh,
all these different things that they're trying to dumb down the game so that everyone can play it. And I get it. But at the same time, what you guys are kind of pointing out is that the systems aren't super conducive to like realism or intensity or all these other
yeah.
systems that you would want from like a stalker game, like if for anybody that's played the stalker games. But most people I know don't play the stalker games because they're so difficult. They're just like, I played the first 10 minutes and was like, Jesus, I gotta learn so many different things for this game. But I know other people they play those games religiously.
Reminds me of when my sister tried to play Bioshock.
Oh yeah.
She spent like 15 minutes in the game. Came across one of the big daddies and was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this anymore."
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you though. Yeah, so like here's the chase handicap system. So found this one a while back. It does like a ton of modifications to the game to make basically the game easier.
How does the system engage? Is it like dynamic or something? Like
It's
how
on a
does it?
cooldown. It's on a timer.
So basically, if you take too long to get shit done, it just gets easier and easier or something?
Well, it's like if you look here, it looks like where they tried to. Well, no, that's not true. That's the reference. So basically, I think what happens is that as you perform these actions and the levels start playing, so I would say 99% of their chase code is hidden, so you can't modify chases. That's why I had to write my own mini chase systems because you can't get to their chase system. Um, with this, I'm assuming what it's doing is that it's calling when a chase starts, it's firing this method, and every couple of seconds, as you're performing actions, it's firing. It's firing the support. So essentially, it's like, you know, I'm curious though. I've been nervous to like just go in here and blatantly start turning these things off because I'm sitting there going like, if I turn these things off, I wonder if it's even like playable. Like I wonder, you know how volatiles were just kicking my ass all over the rooftops. That's with it on. So it's like, what happens if I turn this off? Like, I'll never survive.
That does explain why I've spent so long like just getting into chases, and I have to keep standing there and letting the zombies catch up so that the chase actually continues.
Yeah. Otherwise, it dies off.
Well, I mean, basically, they want the zombies to be able to like reach you to give that sense of threat, but then they also want you to be able to, run away. And like I can kind of see that when you're kind of a slower player, like in that moment that you need time to like reorient yourself, like where's the next safe spot or something, and then
I have never done that in a chase.
well, me neither. But I can see that like they're thinking, oh well, maybe people will get like too stressed out, or like they don't have enough time when the volatiles or something are rushing them
Yeah, when
to figure out where to go or something, So they're like,
this
okay,
game, the
yeah.
first two levels of chase are they're pathetic. It's just all virals. You just run around. They're really easy to lose. They're really easy to dodge and shit. And then you get to chase level 3 where all the volatiles start coming in, and then it actually starts to become a little bit stressful. But what I always like to do is whenever I'm changing directions 7 times on one rooftop, because I'll go one way, volatile pops out the roof hatch. Okay, turn around, because obviously if I keep running that direction and I get my ass kicked, I then come across a little vent that's in the roof, and you'll never guess what. There's a volatile that comes out of that as well.
Oh yeah.
Then you turn another direction, and another one's just came and climbed up the ladder.
Yeah.
So I've sort of conditioned myself to, as soon as I know that volatiles are in play, my primary objective is to make myself as confusing as I can for them to hit. Like I see one that comes out the hatch, and it's immediately I've jumped off the side of the building, I've grapple hooked around the corner, I've launched my paraglider, I'm now climbing up a completely different wall of another building. They're still trying to actually figure out how I've managed to get off the building and get over to the other one.
Yeah, that's another thing is I've had to go through and it was bad on the first game because with their connection, their nav mesh connection system that allows them to go from rooftop to rooftop. The first one was pretty bad as far as like their jump points and where they could climb and that kind of thing. It really started to funnel them into a single
there were some
point.
corners that with like the virals and volatiles, they couldn't climb them.
Yeah, and with this one, it's interesting because they basically haven't created the ability for certain AI to understand those connection points, and so I've been trying to go in there and without just blatantly turning it all on, trying to understand like which one of these AI are not able to properly move between those connection points because otherwise they basically just end up stopping right away. So actually, give me a second, and I have to go see my fiance. She just got home, so give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Sure.
I'm probably gonna have to take my leave right now, but it's been fun to
Heading out.
Good
it's been
discussion.
fun to see this happen.
Thanks for
Oh.
hanging out for a while there and helping fuel the conversation. I appreciate it, man.
That's all right. I'll catch up on the next one. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you, man. So one additional thing, I've got this script up. So before I peace out, one of the other systems that they created that's very interesting for this type of game is that it's almost like similar to kind of a top-down kind of game where you basically your AI detection basically says I have this number of slots that this many people can position themselves around the player. So it's kind of like a tactics game. And they've written this code to where they have this slot system to where this is what drives for the whole idea that like only one can attack at a time. And so I've been slowly trying to go through and remove that system, but in some cases I've found where removing that system breaks the AI completely. So going in and basically going from like, I'm spawning, here is an example is like with the volatiles, this is currently saying that only a maximum of 5 can ever attack the player at once, ever. So on those use cases where you get more than 5, probably one would just stand there and wait for the other 5 to kill you. So you can actually very easily go through the code and basically, so I found that if you do higher than 15, it'll break the game. It'll crash. But you can start to go in here and instead of doing like melee limit, I've been trying to look at things like, slightly increasing that, but then giving them more potential for range attacks. And that was really useful with the human AI because they wrote all the code to where only one bowman could attack any one subject at one time. And so you would end up with bowmen that literally they only had one target, but only one of them would actually even attack. And mostly that wasn't a problem because they were only spawning one bowman ever. And so as you scale this up, you also have to increase this. But if we wanted like a bunch of volatiles spitting at the player from the rooftops kind of thing, all I have to do is set this to something like 12. And then that tells more volatiles that they can't do this, but they can do this. And so it's kind of a nice thing with their system that if they can't have the potential to do one thing, it will automatically steer them towards the other thing. So when writing like the human AI, in this case, 5 human AI would try to go in there and attack the player. But then if you wrote the code to where they could switch weapons, 12 of these guys would switch to their bows, climb up higher, and start shooting down at the player kind of thing. And I love messing around with that kind of stuff. Obviously you die right away, but seeing 12 archers pull their bowstrings back and slaughter you would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I actually set that to 10 instead, just so we don't, because we're going from 2 to 10. So obviously it's a little bit of a jump. Like I said, I'm going to step away for a second. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Thanks, guys. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to get some dinner started. Apologize for everybody that was waiting. Let's see if we can get this uploaded.
Come back.
Kicking. Thanks. Let's see here. So basically, one of the things I was discussing earlier is that, so I've got a couple of things that I'm trying to do here. So basically, we're trying to get the move style updated for them moving through the city so that they're no longer running through the city, but rather walking through the city, or in their case, crawling through the city. And then also trying to, now that I've updated their logic to where they're essentially just attacking the player nonstop, it's trying to look at determining based on either distance or based on a cooldown, the type of attacks that they would do, to where when they're chasing the player, they'll pounce more, or I'm not sure yet, but to look at what kind of actions we can get them to actually do, so that way they're not doing the same simple attack over and over again, but they are definitely moving after the player much faster now.
Maybe I can suggest something to you. Maybe
Sure.
to make your life. It's not something for the mod per se, but just for like for updates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if I can share my screen for this.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So I have this for my mod, right? I mean, I kind of compared it to when you're reading your Nexus mod page. So I have this spreadsheet for my changes.
Yeah.
And it's like easier to read in my opinion. Because if I compared it here, it's like a huge amount of text.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
kind of
for
hard
sure.
to like pick out the changes I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some of these things can kind of highlight like the changes that you really want to show to people, and like, yeah, this is really cool stuff that I implemented in your mod and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Thanks, man.
I can maybe share this template with you if you really want to use it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh no, I appreciate that. Well, so kind of the hope here so far has been trying to get the system responding how I've needed it to. So trying to get the mod rounded out and get everything running as expected. And then the hope after that was, once I had the mod working as expected, this 1.0 release is actually where it's the reason it's been delayed is the whole point is that it's going to be documentation. It's going to be like doing little graphics and doing all the things to like summarize this is what the mod does and that kind of thing. And I've been trying to push that off in the early stages of all the just because I don't want to advertise. I got really hyped about the weather, and then I pulled weather off, and everybody's sitting there going like, "Oh God, where's weather?" So I've been trying to like basically keep it very lean with all the amount of updates, and so now that I'm starting to wrap up towards the stable, it's going in there and creating the the advertising documentation and everything of saying like, this is the mod, this is how you modify the mod, and kind of solidifying all that stuff. But yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. I mean, feel free to send over the template. I don't know if I'll stick to that exact format, but I appreciate the suggestion for sure. I mean, that's one of the biggest things with mods, right? Is people need to know what the mod does and how they can benefit from it, so that they actually, get it. If they don't understand what the mod is actually doing, then they're less likely to even take the time to watch videos and that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of the I understand you sometimes make like those videos, like 20-minute videos, something.
Yeah.
To like kind of explain the player, what's like exactly changed and how the AI behaves and stuff like that. Yeah, some people want to just like read like a little bit of text and then just move on and start the mod,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to switch those to where they're a little bit more driven by feature summary than kind of like personal blog
Yeah. I mean, it's just helping people out, and keep them interested in your mod as well.
Jesus Christ. Well, I can definitely say that the nights are too hard now. Go through and see if we can creep around for a second, and I think I saw one. I think he was still running. And I think that's coming from the update. So they've got some code in there that basically is setting their move style. And I think for the volatiles, they might have something that is forcing them to move in a particular way. Because when I try to set that movement style to anything else, it doesn't work. They just pretty much keep on running.
Should I send it into DMs?
Through PM works.
Okay.
Thanks, man. Yeah, they're still running. Damn. Make sure that that's not because they see me. Oh, well. Good lord. Because he saw me, though.
Do you also find it hard to like make a lot of you're making like a rehaul of the game, right? Just like me. It's like sometimes hard to like test features properly because you don't have that much time to test them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's especially with the AI behavior. I mean, the challenge is that you write one system that impacts another system, and it changes the amount of testing that you have to do to confirm everything's working as expected.
Yeah,
and so I think the biggest challenge is that what I try to do is I try to do updates based on kind of the category of code so that I'm not changing too much at one. Oh, shit. I'm not changing too much at one time so that it's a little bit more centralized around one area of code so I can test one area rather than testing everything under the sun. Shit. I haven't even started looking at how to update these guys yet.
How do you want your mod to be like? Do you want your mod to be like gameplay centric, mostly of like AI behavior?
Yeah, most of the time that's kind of been the summary is that it's an overhaul of the AI, along with supporting elements that lend to a horror game instead of a light parkour game kind of thing. So I tend to just say overhaul now.
Okay.
So are you still actively working on the Night Runner mod?
Oh yeah, for sure. I am still working on the really big following update.
Oh, nice.
I've been working on it for a month now. I'm almost finished.
Oh, cool! Congrats, man. So with your version, or with your Night Runner mod, what's kind of the 30-second elevator pitch of like what you've been trying to turn it into?
I kind of wanted the game to feel like a new experience instead of revisiting the old game of the game. And you're like, okay, everything that I just played is still the same. I kind of do want like bring like a really new experience to the game, just like as if you bought the game again.
Yeah.
Keep the players interested and rehaul the game while I'm at it with rebalancing systems like that. Making stamina more useful, make the player use items. Because you don't need that in the first game at all. You can run through the game just fine without using any of the items.
Yeah. Yeah, and, it was interesting when the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine.
I was just gonna say it was interesting when they came out with the concept of like the hook and all of that in the first game. It kind of like felt like cheating Because it's just like the whole game was based on like one very specific type of gameplay, and then as soon as you got to the area with the hook, now it felt more like a more like a fun like jump around the city game rather than
Yeah.
than like fighting or really the more zombie centric. But now it's so interesting to see where they've taken a feature that they were working on in the first one, and then they made it pretty crucial to this game. I mean, as far as the parkour goes, you can't really get around the city quite as well without using some of those systems.
Is my mic echoing by any chance?
No, it's good.
Oh, okay, because someone said in chat it is. I was confused.
Oh, sorry. They're probably talking about mine. They're probably talking about on my because I'm also streaming to YouTube. I often have the oh no, he is saying yours. It's probably where he's hearing you through my uh system. Hey bub, thanks for joining on the YouTube side. Um yeah, it's this challenge where I've got my mic too close to the speaker system, but I have like surround sound, so it's kind of hard to get the mic away from the speaker systems. But I have noticed in the recordings that people talking on the Discord usually come across very echoey. But it's not your mic; it's the YouTube audio.
Yeah. It's just a little confused. So coming back to what you said earlier about the grappling hook, right? I do agree on that. Like in some sorts, I feel like you get the grappling hook way too late into the story, so it kind of the parkour system just becomes like redundant.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going to Old Town, they kind of have put like a bit of a higher. How should I say it? Like the gameplay like lifts up a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're not forced to climb it because you already have a grappling hook by that point in the game.
Right.
I kind of fixed that as well with my mod just because of the skill tree rework. Like you're only getting it like very late game ish.
Right.
I try to just rework like the whole game, the way you play the game pretty much.
Yeah. That's great. Balancing is really difficult to do in there. So more of that needed to be done for sure. Especially with the skills, I felt like they did a better job with the skills on game 2, based on what I'm hearing. But game 1 seems like they did not get the skills as phoned in as probably they should have.
Yeah, I see that. Do you think Dying Light 2's skill system is like expandable?
Yeah, I just think that they did a better job this time of kind of shoring up their code to where you can't add the custom content, and so because of that, it makes it a little bit more difficult. I think if you can figure out which systems actually do anything, then you might be able to write new systems. But like, for example, I mean, what I've started doing is just heading over to the data 0 on the main game and deleting full folders and finding out the game will break really quick if you actually take out a script that it needs. So you can actually delete out full folders and find out very quickly how much of the data 0 is actually doing anything. And so if you can narrow down what systems are fully available, because like, for example, some systems are barely available. You have like the tail end, you can't actually write anything of what you would like them to do. You can only access what they've already written that they can do. And so in those cases, it's like with the skill tree, if you keep it super simple and it's meaningful, then yeah, probably. As far as like writing in systems that don't exist, as far as I've seen, there's very little support for writing in systems at this point, like even down to basically, or really basic systems like adding a pipe to the crafting list, or disassembling weapons, or I've been constantly shocked by like what I thought would be super simple that should be very easy to implement. I've been very shocked at what systems don't work. Just like, dang it.
Yeah, it's just like the first game. They also have like a lot of like code that doesn't work,
Right.
or like it just stays there and they're not removing it.
Yeah, which makes it super frustrating. Of like, you're so close, and so I've killed way too many weekends just trying to get a very simple system working properly. So
Yeah, I can completely get into that. Are you still planning to come back to your first mod, like the DL1 mod?
yeah, so people have been asking for a long time if I was going to do Dying Light 2. When it released, I saw the state of it, and I was sitting there like, yeah, absolutely, this needs some love. And so I've been trying to focus on this, and really it's turned into quite a lot of work to get it balanced. And let's see, I mean, the game released back on February 4th, and I started, the first version of the mod came out on the 7th of January, and pretty much I've been working on it ever since. So I kept meaning to stop and go back to Dying Light 1, but kind of the challenge has been is that I'll find a new system in here that, like, one of the big problems that I had with the first game is that I balanced the zombies, and I also I balanced the humans with their guns, but I was never really super happy with the balance, and so I've been a little bit more hopeful in this one by adding the verticality in here. Of at the base game, if you're not using the runners, then have programming them to climb up a building and throw a Molotov down at the ground is not that crazy. While doing that in the first game is not as simple, and so I won't like. I was shocked in the first game by the amount of code that was turned off, but in the second game, I guess I was kind of shocked at the amount of time, or the simplicity of the AI and everything else.
It's kind of crazy because they're removing like even more unused stuff in the game files, as I heard from the modding Discord. There's like a unused like takedown animation in the files, for example.
Yeah.
And they removed that as well. Same goes for the developer menu, which is actually something really useful for modders, for testing features and all of that. But it seems like that doesn't work as well anymore, from what I got.
Oh yeah, no, they basically, I mean, that's the thing, is that's the same problem I ran into in the first game, is that they'll say like, we're pro modding and all that stuff, but I really haven't seen that as far as that goes. I mean, they're definitely more on the line of like, they're pro modding as long as it doesn't impact how they want the modding to be done. So I think they're like, they don't care if someone goes and writes something like Golden Vendors, because it's essentially their game style, with a cheat kind of thing, right? So it's super simple. It's like a one-line change. But then what I've seen in my experience with Dying Light 1 is that the more systems I tried to write and change in the game as the updates came out, they would literally go and block the exact thing that I had just got set up. There were instances where I found where they were citing what values I had been setting and stuff, like in the comments next to the line that they changed, kind of thing. Like I was finding like direct references to the stuff I was fixing or changing, in their updates. And so it got kind of to the point where it felt very like deliberate to the point that I'm sitting there going like, what? Like, why do they care? I mean, it's just more people are playing their game, right? Like I had people all over the place going like, oh, I'll finally buy the game because of your mod. Like, I want to play co-op on there. And some they're like, that's just more money for them. That's not more money for me. Like, so why would they want to, or why do they feel like they need to block that? So there's a couple of times like that where I just kind of felt like it was a little bit too on the nose of like, they say they're pro modder, but at the same time they're actively working against modders. So it's just kind of a, I think they are going to slowly start to pull out certain things that I've had access to and make it more difficult. And it just kind of comes down to like how bad that gets, because it really did make the first game very limited in the things that I wanted to fix. You can still fix a lot of things, but it's not. I had a version of it way back that was kind of similar to how this one plays. It was very difficult. And I had like a group of 3 other friends that we played the game pretty religiously, and it was super difficult, and we were really enjoying it. And then, they blocked most of that, and so it was kind of like, we just won't play anymore. Like, all right, never mind, sorry.
Yeah, that sucks.
So as they go, I mean, I guess we'll just find out what they block or what they don't block. Bub, I see that you're asking a couple of questions over on the YouTube side as well. And so I've heard a couple of people mention, so just to confirm this, I haven't read all of the notes here, but I've had a couple of people mention this. Have they officially blocked the player variables? Is that what I'm getting? Is that why everybody's now modifying the data 0 instead of doing the additive? Do you know, Fear?
Oh, wait, sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Oh, no worries. Is it because of the game audio? Is it too loud?
No, I got like sidetracked on what I was doing.
Oh, no, you're good. Okay, I just want to make sure that it wasn't an audio issue. Basically, a couple of people have mentioned with like the update, they're starting to do the event system, and it looks like they're starting to up their security on multiplayer. And so a couple of people were kind of indicating very strongly that they felt like the player variable scripts and stuff like that on Dying Light 2 were now blocked. And so I was just curious if you had seen or heard something similar to that.
Oh, in Dying Light 1 then, or?
No, in the second game.
Oh, in the second game. I haven't honestly like modded that much on Dying Light 2. I've only like changed like a few variables and tried to bring back features from the first game a little bit.
Yeah.
Like for example, like looting a zombie faster, because I kind of hate like how long it takes for you to do the zombie.
Yeah.
And I kind of tried to keep on doing that, but apparently, Bob said that PLS is over. Wait, what is it? He overrides. Okay, so PLS files overrides the modded ones, but usually you can just disable them with rest client, no?
Yeah, so based on what Bub is saying on the YouTube channel, they got really friendly with this idea of doing injectable logic to where certain scripts they would just inject at runtime. So if you were online, it would just get injected, so there's no way you can modify it. And they did that with Dying Light 1 for the biters, to where you can't modify the biters. And so because of that, I'm curious if they're leaning towards that for this game as well.
It seems like Bob. You probably
Here, let me. So obviously, my crawl didn't work, so I'm gonna close this out so I can hear you guys a little bit better.
But can you just not disable PLS though, and then your files will overwrite anyway because you disabled PLS. It's probably gonna take some time to get to him. Disabling it via wristband doesn't work. Interesting.
Yeah, when I think he's still on here. There was let me see if he's still on the Discord. A while back, I was a couple of guys popped up on the Nexus, and they were working on DLL injection code to where it would actually fix some of those kinds of problems because they definitely got really heavy on that. And I think it's not the same guy who did. He's not part of the guy. He's not the guy who did the dev mod on the Nexus. It looks like he's no longer on here. I was really curious about it. He I could pull him up probably in my PMs, but he was working really hard with this group of guys that they were basically just trying to like do whatever they wanted on the game without worrying about what they were injecting and that kind of thing. And they were essentially just getting banned on all the servers and stuff like that on the first game, and now it looks like they're doing something similar on the. They're trying to do something similar on the second game, and that was definitely frustrating everybody because they just didn't like. Basically, there's just such a high chance that they're going to get banned from the servers and then not be able to play online and stuff like that, and so it's just kind of. I found that with this, you just gotta either you gotta make your mod to where everybody can play it as easily as possible without fear of repercussion, or don't do it in your mod. I guess it sucks. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the way to go necessarily. I guess, but when it comes to the DLL injection and trying to bypass these things with firewall and stuff like that, depending on how they have their server settings and that kind of thing, you're just kind of setting yourself up to flag is another thing that I was noticing is it also teaches them how to write their code even more intense. So you're basically teaching them how to block exploits. So the more you kind of go work on that kind of stuff and release it to where people can do whatever they want on their servers, the more they just block it off. So I don't know. I don't know if you guys get what I'm putting down here, but it's just like one of those things where like I think working as a prior IT and working on like network securities and stuff like that, it's always just kind of fun to see what people come up with so you can just block them again. So you gotta find like a different way to play. If you can't play that play style, then I don't know if you ever really will, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what the clip does to the future with modders.
Yeah.
Trying to find this.
Maybe that is the problem. All right, I think I'll probably actually start wrapping up on this side so I can go finish up dinner and everything. But
Yeah, no worries.
hopefully, so the plan right now is to try to get these AI working a little bit more polished, so it's easier to set up the difficulty. Then after that comes the harder part where I'm doing all of the major update to the configuration files and the difficulty update that I've been researching for quite a while. It's going to take a lot of work, but I'm going to essentially split out the entire code base into 3 pieces. And so I've been hesitant to do it because that's going to be harder to support with updates. But I think I've got a way of getting the difficulty actually more moldable for a lot of people that were trying to dial down the intensity of the game. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna be working on that some tomorrow, but so I'll be back on.
Have you worked on spawning in Dying Light 1?
Have I worked on spawning in Dying Light 1?
Yeah, like spawning in more enemies and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Because I kind of need like an answer to this question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to answer it considering you've been working on DLC. I'll try.
Sure.
I don't know if you can read it because of the stream quality.
Yeah, you're on the. Hang on 1 second. Let's see. You're on common spawn. Yeah.
Yeah, this is common spawn. So basically, I have like an enemy that spawns through an intensity curve.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out how the intensity key works because I want him to be a rare enemy, but somehow he wanted to make himself spawn very frequently in the world.
Yeah, so you don't have a cooldown, so that's probably your biggest thing is that you lined out your cooldown. That's crucial for determining how often they can spawn. So if you're wanting to make him more of a rare spawn, then you need to add the cooldown back. Also, your float value there, you've got 200 and then a decimal. You need to make sure you put a 0 after that, or you'll end up with a crash. And actually, I think that really is a float value. So you just switched it to like an integer value by removing the decimal. I think you need to make sure you put the decimal back in there.
Oh, you mean 0.0? Okay, so because I kind of looked at the base game code and it did this here, so I was kind of confused.
I'm not sure why. Hang on, let me. Yeah, so well, the one thing that does tell me is that it is 100% a float, so you want to make sure the decimal is in there. It's just normally, or those are integer values. So hang on 1 second. Let me pull that up. It's been a while since.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm kind of.
No. It's good. It's good. Because I'm pulling it up on my side as well. I'll just pull up all my old ones. So you're on the common spawn. Let's see. So those spawns are pretty notorious depending on how you're doing it. You have your different pools. Have you added that type to a pool yet?
This one right here?
Yeah, so you've got your pool type, and then have you added that zombie to? Is it a type of zombie that you're doing there?
Yeah, it's like a white hazmat zombie that spawns in the world pretty much.
Have you added him to the common spawn presets?
Yeah. This is where the curve calls, and then it calls a pool type, and then it spawns the preset.
Because on the common spool presets, you have the minimum distance between zombies. If you're trying to make him more rare, you can go over to your common spawn presets and then change the distance between zombies to like 200 or something like that, and that would definitely help cut down. You can also increase the time between spawns there, and then that way you can keep the common spawns very simple, and then that way it'll inject some of that logic through the common spawn presets.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. It's like a different way of adding a cooldown. Because I was kind of confused about this weight thingy here.
Yeah.
But I assume this weight code basically means like if you add another intensity key, how long it takes to call another like a different intensity key.
Yeah. So the intensity key is weird. It uses audio, so most of that is sound based. So as you're there's an intensity pull setting for both day and night, and there's a whole list of things that dial that up. And so basically, what you're looking at there is, if you went out and shot a gun 3 times, it would kick off the first, well, not because they also have the 25, but it's incremental. So basically, I wouldn't worry about the intensity keys if you're trying to make it a rare spawn. Just keep the intensity keys probably what the standard zombie is. So you probably want the intensity key of like just a regular like, for example, the hazmat zombie. He's a good one because he's a more rare one in there. Yeah, gas tank, which he might also be just a generic. There we go.
So they use. I'm trying to. Oh, special.
It's gonna be your pools, I think, right?
Yeah, but the. Oh wait. Yeah. This is the pool though, so normally the intensity curve should use a pool, right?
Yeah, but if they're no longer spawning it, so I've seen some of those notes with like, so gas tank there. Try to do the vessel. There we go. And then disallow force between. I know on mine he showed up in like all the general pools. So originally they had him in the notes. They had him set up as like a special almost, but then he was actually showing up in the base pool. So if you go to the let's see.
It's very interesting how they did it. Because it first used to be like my new zombie used to be in the pool of the gas tanks because I didn't really know how the system worked. But once I figured it out, I kind of made my own system. But now I'm just trying to tweak it to the point where it's a bit more of a rare spawn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you could probably just use that. I mean, just leave the intensity where it's at for now. If that one's worked for you in the past.
Oh yeah, it's always working.
I do think that needs to be higher if you want rare, because 1 and 2, basically intensity key is, if I remember straight, so I might be off here a little bit, but the intensity key is a pool of points that's being added up based on noise and different conditions. So the higher the numbers, the less likely to spawn. Based on those numbers adding up, the lower, then the easier it can spawn. But you might want to double check that with the intensity. But with the intensity settings, there's a whole script that I'm trying to remember where that script was. But anyway, more to your point, I think you probably get away with using that.
The time between.
The weight between and get what you're looking for there.
Yeah, that's.
But there was. Oh, I think it's under scripts, night aggression, and then aggression. I think is the.
Oh, I don't have it in my files. I'll open the data 0 from the game.
Yeah, I think it's either this. It's like a whole point system that they've got in here, and this helps dial up the intensity keys.
Is it aggression?
Yeah. But it has like it has these values. Let's see points. Yeah, down at the very bottom, there's the aggro level.
Oh yeah.
And then points to next level and minimum time. So these systems all kind of flow into each other to where is like, this isn't it. It's under sound unless no, well, yeah, aggro sounds. So if you type in explosion and hit search, up here there's like this radius, minimum add, max add, max power add, show on radar. I'm pretty sure this hands off to the intensity key. It took a long time to kind of flush out exactly how this system handed off to each other, but basically I think this aggression system hands off to the intensity key. It adds a certain number of points based on what you have set here, and then that dials up your intensity key. But most of that, if you look at the night spawn pulls, then most of that stuff was easier to see in the night aggression because they didn't have the night noise. It's like the base system, the core default code, they had more code pointing towards night than they did daytime. So it was harder to understand what the heck they were doing and why with the daytime code than it was the nighttime code. If you study the nighttime code, it's much easier to kind of see how they were doing their aggression and their intensity keys and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And I will there's so few, like, I mean, the amount of files in this first one. Let me see how many files I got. Yeah, in my first mod for the first game, it's 189 files. And for the latest mod, it's 6,552 files. So, yeah, I'm actually really excited to get back to Dying Light 1.
That's great to hear.
I feel like there's a lot of things that could probably get done at this point. I've learned a lot since the first one, so I'm excited to get back. One thing that I've learned how to do is get access to the textures and the model files. Getting them all working is harder, but you can actually inject custom content in the first game, but you can't currently in the second game. So I'm gonna still try to look into it when I get back there. But I gotta jump off, get some dinner. But it's good catching up with you, man. Good luck over there, and let me know if hopefully that helped. Hopefully it didn't steer you in the wrong direction. But
yeah, that definitely helped me out. I really appreciate
yeah, of course. Cool, man. Hope you have a great night, and talk to you here soon.
Yeah, see you later, man. Have a nice evening or day.
You too. Later.
Later.